Hello. Hi, Taranjit. Hi, everybody
Mui
out
Han.
there. Welcome to our first show. How's everybody doing this Monday evening? Probably you can give us a hello down in the comment section just to let us know you are here so that we can check out who's here. Maybe Taranjit, you want to say something?
Absolutely. It's indeed a privilege to be here. I'm really looking forward to some interactiveness over the next couple of sessions that we're going to be having with the people. Until today, we've got some really good feedback and good responses for people to actually want to hear what's currently prevalent out there and what is the elephant in the room, Mui Han.
Well, I think the biggest elephant in the room would be this question on business landscape, right? And so I was saying that what do you think it looks like and what does it mean for us in today's business landscape? Maybe you want to give us some perspective on that, Taranjit?
Absolutely, Mui Han. So there are a couple of things that are playing out in my mind. Disruption is critical, and that's a theme that is being mentioned over and over again. But interestingly enough, if you think about it, we've been in this disruptive mode for the last 10 years, until from the time where technology platforms were coming up, the Salesforce and the PeopleSoft, the Oracles, everything around that space, and it was 10 years ago. And then about 3 to 4 years ago, this whole IR4 started, and that whole area now start to drive. But more recently, 2 weeks back, 3 weeks back at the latest, the whole world had come to an end for all intents and purposes. Again, this COVID-19 has hit us squarely in the face. And one of the things that comes out is the speed at which things have played out. What was a 3-year time horizon, a 4-year time horizon has now happened within 2 weeks. And that's the thing which is really, really scary because there is a tremendous uncertainty.
Yeah, actually, that's what I feel tremendously. In fact, one of the things that happened this round is so rapid. I think everybody has been foreseeing some kind of recession because we've been going through many highs, economic highs, stock market highs for the longest time ever. So some correction was expected in this period or even the coming years or months. But I think this one came very rapidly, and rightly say, I think it is nothing, due to economic structures per se, because it's something very biological. It's a virus, and by the time it hit us so fast. I mean, and Malaysia, for other recessions, we usually have a 6-month lag time. Things may happen in the West first, either in the Europes or in the Northern America, and then it will slowly come to Asia or Southeast Asia. I remember when it was, even in 2008, it didn't really hit us very hard. But I think the last round was maybe post-September 11. And post-September 11, we have a very good 6 months buffer. We could see things happening. But this round, it looks like, man, it's so rapid that everything's happened simultaneously throughout the world. What do you think to that, Taranjit?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. And in my mind, there are 3 things that have played out. The first thing that is playing out is the area around the healthcare and that whole healthcare related issues. The second thing that is playing out very emphatically is the area around the society as a whole. The fact that we are not able to go out there and continue work the way we are supposed to. Social distancing has come into play. How do we conduct workshops? How do we conduct training sessions from a social perspective? And the third one that comes across is effectively the area of economic consideration. So at any one point in time, 1 is already bad enough, 2 is even worse, and we are having now 3 hitting us simultaneously. And that actually has an immense impact on the approach that we have as an economy, as well as the approach that we have as business entities. Mui Han?
Yeah, and this is really not just a new normal, but I think it will be very unprecedented. In fact, you may aware, and most people may aware, I work very closely with the graduates, for their employability, especially from the public universities. And most public university graduates will usually finish their term by maybe next month or June. The finals will be there, and then they will go into the job market. And I'm just thinking to myself for the last few weeks, even with other graduate employability champions that we do work together, uh, how the landscape going to be like for them, man. We are very worried. In fact, we already, as it is, without a situation like that, employability was very challenging for them. But now when this happens, so what do you think, huh?
So I see it differently, Mui Han. I see it actually quite in a slightly more positive light. Admittedly, we do have a very intense period ahead, absolutely, and make no bones. But what I do see differently is the opportunity to position ourselves differently. The market is dynamic. The marketplace is changing. It is changing before our very eyes. Well, actually, the disruption. The question now is, where do you see yourself fitting in this new norm? So I don't see it as bleak as how you would see it. What I do see is we need to look at things with a fresh pair of eyes for all intents and purposes. Mui Han?
Okay, glad that you share such optimism. In fact, yeah, I mean, thinking about it more in a more deeper sense, I feel there's always opportunity in any uh, so-called crisis. I think that is one common cliche word that everybody keeps using. Just that I personally feel that because I have gone around most universities, in fact, I've been doing my rounds on the ground for the last 26 months, more than 17 universities, talked to more than 5,000 over undergrads. I generally feel that because of the sense that they weren't even thinking about not getting a job to start with, or they're not even thinking of having challenges when they come out to work. They think that it will be quite easy, or it will be quite a part and parcel of the journey. But more so now they are being saddled with this. So I think a lot of people went into campuses. We warned them about automation. We warned them about IR 4.0. We talk about the need to look at futures proofing themselves using such certain skills that is in accordance to 4.0. But really, I think nobody would anticipate in the sense if there are any students out there, actually I would be happy if to know that somebody actually prepared themselves for this event as an undergraduate. So you could be right to say that if for those who are more industrious and more focused, and they know what they can do and they know how to play the thing differently, they could get better opportunities in this kind of environment. But my feel is because we have almost like 200,000 odd graduating students just from Malaysian university itself, I feel that there is going to be a big challenge to start with. Number two is because it's going to be a global recession. So a lot of times when our Malaysian university students moving to, I mean, those who study and did their university degrees overseas, they probably was aiming to get a job in the university that they were, either in Europe, in Australia, or in Northern America. But if those places are also in a recession, chances are jobs also be far and few there. And then probably they all need to come back. So which makes the thing, employability opportunities in Malaysia ever more tight. And I think being employers at this juncture will be very, very selective. And I think that is where the whole scenario going to be? Maybe you can share your perspective interacting with the different HR folks, especially the HR directors of different companies.
Sure.
What have they been talking about in this perspective, especially on employment for both experienced hire as well as for fresh graduates?
Sure. Thanks for that, Mui Han. And actually, let me go back a bit. It's a little bit more than HR as hires per se. I think this is generally the case. The issue now comes along in terms of the type of contracts or the relationship that we are looking for. And just before I commence this session with you, I had the absolute privilege of being on a Chartered Management Institute webinar where I was co-speaking. And one of the things that was very evident was the area around the social contract or the work relationship that is being entered into between the employer and the employee. Until today, many times we look at the relationship as one of permanency. There's a permanency of at least 2 years. There's a permanency of at least 3 years, 4 years, whatever the deal may be. But in my mind, and I would like to put this onto the table, the relationship has changed. Gone are the days where we are looking at a permanent employment, but actually what we may now be viewing is the rise and the consolidation of giggers, people who are going to be flexible enough to traverse either one side permanent employment or the other side a contractual gig-based relationship. That then entails a very different mindset. It entails a mindset on problem solving and critical thinking on one side and micropreneurs on the other. Two very different skill sets required, but that's the nature of adaptability and agility that I see playing out. And agile learning and that whole agility space is going to be very critical, the way I see it. Mui Han?
Okay, I think that is quite I would totally agree with some of this perspective. In fact, I think agility will always come out in this form. My perspective or the positive way of looking at this is whoever that survives the next 6 months either will be well-groomed and well-trained in agility in both technical sense as well as behavioral sense. Let me assure you that you will be an asset because I know this for sure because when I graduated, I hit the right smack into September 11 downturn, and it was significantly tough, but of course we survived. And goes the cliche: whatever don't kills you makes you stronger. Definitely, yeah. I think that is something very interesting that maybe our audience, especially the younger ones, that can consider, and even the experienced hire per se. Would that be from your understanding and conversation with your network as well as your clients out there? Is there any perspective, I mean, mainly, especially for the working experienced hires, what would be the landscape going to look like in the next 3 months at least, or especially post MCO? Maybe I think a lot of people have dealt with in terms of business stance, but maybe some perspective on the behavioral aspects of it or the requirements or expectations. Would maybe like to hear that? That would be something I think our audience would want to.
That's a good. The first one is are going to be impacted in this regard, and it's very clear. Given what we have stated, what we've discussed over the last 15 minutes, this is a global phenomenon, and I honestly don't think we will rebound slightly longer. Reading out of Singapore, they're looking at the first, second quarter of next year. The IMF has stated that at the very least, and this is as per the Bank Negara report early part of this month, at the very least, they're expecting recovery in 2021. For all accounts, in my view and my considered opinion, we'll be lucky if we can actually see recovery over the next 18 to 24 months, back to where it was. Therefore, this means a clear impact on the type of jobs that are now being looked at. What are the considerations for work? What type of work should I now be bringing to the table? These are some of the thought processes, and no matter what you graduate in, I think these skills will be highly relevant no matter what field you're in. So good people, notice I use the term good people, are always highly sought out for, no matter what the deal is. Companies need to perform. Companies need to perform well. Now, in order for me to go out there and show myself, it has to be good people around the table. Now, that's where you can now start to differentiate yourself. Will there be jobs for all? I think your jobs, what will differentiate? And these are things which have to be focused on. Will you get this from university? Universities will give you what they're supposed to give you, a decent education to take you into the workforce. But you know what? The workforce requirements have changed, and they've changed drastically before your very eyes. Mui Han?
Okay. Yeah, I will strongly agree with that, and this is going to be a very, very big change. And I think our institution of higher learning is also going to take some time to readapt to it. In fact, I'd like to just maybe show some comments that we have been getting on our Facebook page. It's from my good friend Zorab. So Zorab says it's a time to accelerate the adoption of blended learning. In fact, he has a view on it will be at least another 36 months for full economic recovery. So I think in Zorab's case, you're looking at if going back to where we were 3 months back, probably. So maybe it's time to really take different life skill and invest in mentoring for a start. I would totally support this idea because I feel that the workforce today, especially the junior and younger workforce, need to find mentors as quick as possible. So if they can find it within their organization, that is ideal. If they can't, there's tons of mentors willingly do this on LinkedIn. Maybe they can just reach out to some of them. Having somebody to guide you becomes very, very important, and also to bounce off ideas to make sure that you are trading. More so in this time. Maybe you want to just give your closing thoughts on mentoring, then maybe we prelude for our next show tomorrow.
Sure. So thanks, Mui Han. And I think you're absolutely spot on. The need for mentorship now becomes even more critical. I agree with that. Simply because we don't know what we don't know. And if I can go out there and connect with people who have more wisdom, connect with people who have the ability to have gone through this before successfully, what can I learn from them? What is also critical here is the aptitude one brings to the table. The whole notion around an entitlement. Now that, and we went through it. I was a graduate, although many years ago, but there was a notion around, I've done my 4 years worth of graduation, and I've done my college and university. I've got myself the master's. You know what? I'm now entitled to a good job. Well, guess again, you're not entitled to anything. It's what you are now having to start to work on and build a type of opportunities for yourself. That's where it starts to happen. We have no level of entitlement. That's my view. It's a bit harsh, but that's what I sincerely believe in. We have no level of entitlement at all. We have to work every inch of the way. Mui Han?
Okay, I think we come to almost the end of the show for today, at least. I would want to maybe leave our viewers with some food for thought so that we can continue the discussion. So maybe before I do that, some logistical matters. To start with, maybe if you can follow our page, if you have not, And also, we will send out the link for tomorrow's session, so you can maybe set a reminder for yourself so that you can tune in to us once again at 6 o'clock on Tuesday evening. As well as we will also like you to help us to share this message as wide as possible. If you can, at the launch of our show tomorrow at 6, we like to invite you to maybe do a watch party. If you don't know how to do this, you can actually ask in the comment section. We will guide you step by step. So my concluding thoughts for today is I feel that the picture doesn't look good from all the indicators based on even before COVID, and now COVID is a confirmation that it's going to be a rough time, a tough time for the next 3 to 6 months, definitely, if not even longer. But in this sense, I wouldn't discount the fact that with proper collaboration, with proper mentorship, or with proper connection, we can actually weather through this storm together. So my basis is I would really encourage everyone, whether you are young, even old, or experienced higher for that matter, to really focus on really harnessing the human connection in these troubled times. And I think as human beings, we work best as a community, as a group, and nothing is too big for us to overcome together. Anything on your end?
Yes. I totally agree with that. I see from the comment section, if you could just highlight that a gentleman by the name of Damiri Petra has responded, and he's asked for some. There you go. He's asked for some thoughts about there should be no excuse for companies not to be agile as they are now post the MCO. Any thoughts? And I'm going to ask Damiri to just stay tuned. We will respond to that as an opening tomorrow itself. So stay tuned, Damiri, for our thoughts on this. Back to you, Mui Han.
Okay, we have come to the end of the show. Thank you for tuning in for this show, and we really hope that what you have received helps to build some perspective. We also want to hear more from you, what you want to further understand. Feel free to comment on this section anytime, and we will use some of your questions if we are unable to capture it for the coming days discussion. So see all of you again tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Take care. Stay safe, guys. Bye-bye.